go and do this. And you know, that's typical modus operandi of the political elite. You see, when you have political elites, they create problems to sustain their status quo, you understand? And they operate in such a manner that you cannot find them, they are obscure. So, and then they turn around and pretend to want to solve the same problem that they have created.
And even sometimes when the thugs are caught,
yes,
they don't say it was this person who sent me sometimes.
Yes, because you know why? They have already been paid. And except where you put them through high pressure, interrogation and all that, and then they can own up. But the reality is that the same people who send these guys out to do this are the people who will come on television to say, you know, we are saddened by what has happened, it's regrettable and all that. But when you dig deeply, you will find out that these guys have no other reason to go out and do what they are doing if they are not being paid to do it.
Ayodele, are there some persons who their business is to, you can hire them for thuggery or for some of those activities during the election? Are there some people like that? Or they are members of political parties who are ready to be used as the case may be?
Well, let me first of all correct one impression and statement, because we're on national TV. Yeah. We must not generalize. I'm part of the political elite, and it's not all the political elite that think that way. In fact, the vast majority of the political elite think that you go out there, you speak to people, convince them on the need why you need to vote for them. But very few of them, like I branded them when we started, that they are accident of history. We've allowed a system where people who you cannot trace to a purpose, people who you cannot trace to a certain ideology, believing that might can get them there. But again, the people have shown us in some part of this country that even with the might you have, we will resist you. We did resist the military. You understand? We brought in democracy. So we will not stop at that. We will continue to resist anybody that wants to use arms and might to gain power. And I must commend the Nigerian entertainment industry, and of course civil society, and the media particularly. I know that you gave them space to air a lot of their content. Take, for instance, Vote Not Fight. We need to bring a lot of slogan in order to change people's orientation. And many of these so-called thugs, if you go closer to them, you will understand that you can disarm them by just talking to them and telling them that, look, what you've been contracted or hired to do is not the best way to it. Let them understand that if you get your act right, you can even become a councillor in your local government. As long as you're responsive to your community will gather money to sponsor your aspiration.
All right, Curtis, what do you think were the issues in this election? If you compare to 2015 election where campaigns were based on some pedigree and some issues and all of that, in this election, what do you think the issues were?
Well, I thought that the parties had their strategies for winning this election. For the ruling APC, they made corruption the centerpiece of their corruption of their campaign. They wanted Nigerians to see that they inherited a huge mess over a period of 16 years, and that the ruling party probably thinks that they have not done enough in the last 4 years to clear the mess, and so they want to return back to power and create more mess. And so if you allow the PDP to get back to power, you are bringing back corruption. That was the central theme of their message. You know, it was about the integrity of Mr. President, their candidate, and what he did. And for the PDP, Nigeria was not working. They needed to make Nigeria work again. That's what they said. They left the country a robust economy for Mr. President, and that because of mismanagement.
Yeah, but besides even the political parties and what they stood for, from the people's perspective, the person who is going there to cast his ballot, what was the issue in his mind to say, okay, I'm voting for this person because he stands for this, or I'm voting for this party because he stands for that?
Yeah, you know, you say in well-developed democracies, you've got issue-based campaign. And some of these issues were framed from the feelers that you get within an environment. You understand? There's no one issue that suits everybody in a large country like Nigeria. If I come from a community where education is our problem, you win my vote if you talk about education. If basic infrastructure, of course it's our problem all over the country here. Now, this is one campaign that, you know, I never heard things about the right of the poor people, okay, what you are going to do to lift people out of poverty, from most people who were campaigning, other than the fact that they were campaigning under their party platform. Nobody talked about the right of women, you know, their health and all that. And that was because when you are in a campaign, sometimes what dictates what you talk about is what the others are talking about. You know, if they don't make it an issue, sometimes you don't want to go out of your way to make these things an issue.
So there's so much effort into countering what the other person is saying,
yes,
and all of that.
We should be setting the agenda. The electorate should be setting the agenda and say, this is what we think is important for us.
Okay, let's talk about the issue of collation and tallying that is ongoing right now. Some people have said that is where the actual thing happens, and if it's not even at the place where people are actually thumbprinting the voting process. It's at the point of collation and tallying that anything can happen at that point.
That is why you need to get very enlightened and very serious representative from different parties to actually monitor what is happening. As an individual, you can also do so. For instance, in your local government, you could come together in your community, assign yourself with duties, and just put people at different polling units just to get the numbers, get the figure, and you sit down and you plug it together. So a lot of consciousness must be put in place there, and people must monitor what is happening. And there's no how you can rig where you are not popular, and there's no how you can rig the people out when they are vigilant. You understand? There was a scenario, I think in 2003, either 2003 or 2007. You understand? Senator Tokunboh Afikuyomi was at Queen's College, and the manipulation was about to happen. And he just stood up and brought out the figure in his hands that was duly signed, INEC papers, and those things were corrected. Remember that the ruling party also went to the internet, particularly in Lagos, to bring out the figure that was not, you know, from INEC, and they were propagating it around. Now, the party in Lagos was very calm. You know, it's like a boxing match. You don't fight with emotion. You must be very calm. Even if they are throwing numbers that are not true, be calm. Gather all of the evidences that you have in your hands from the various INEC return sheets, put it together and plug it.
When it comes to monitoring that collation and the tallying, that window,
yes,
as the case may be, Curtis, who are the strongest stakeholders there? Are they the agents who monitor to ensure that nothing untoward happens there? Because the people who voted will not necessarily be there at that point anymore.
Yeah, voting is the people's process, and the people are represented by the agents, you know, at this collation center. Look, gone are the days where manipulations can take place as collation. Because, you know, in those days when we didn't have social media and all this technology, you don't transmit results from far and wide areas into a hub. Look, I sit here now. I've not been to Katsina, but I know what already happened in Katsina, even though it's not official. I know what happened in Adamawa and some parts of Kwara State, part of Benue State, part of Lagos. Now we know that some people lost their polling booths and all that. These results already do exist. And I can tell you the political parties have their situation room where they have done their own collation. Now, that could change sometimes, because INEC staffers could, while going through the collation, could spot some areas of mistakes and all that, double printing somewhere that was not probably picked out at the polling. Those little, but they don't usually, you know, significantly change the outcome of the figures that are already within the party headquarters. And so it's not like the past where this information was not available, and then some few people will sit in a place and then change figures. That was when they used to say, those who vote do nothing. Only those who count the votes do everything. But we've moved from that era now into a different era.
All right. Let me put both of you on hold now, and we go up for the break on the break for the news update with my colleague Kemi Folademo, and then we come back to dwell on these issues. Stay with us on Nigeria Vote Studio. TVC is everywhere, bringing you updates. Stay with us.